Welcome back to the discussion, Solving the Cyber Puzzle, From Trust to Talent, sponsored by Leidos on Federal News Radio 1500 AM and federalnewsradio.com. My guest today is Arlette Hart, Senior Cybersecurity Technologist at Leidos. I'm your moderator, John Gilroy. Well, believe it or not, I've done over 500 interviews here on Federal News Radio. All kinds of different federal agencies and .orgs, nonprofits, and a lot of commercial companies, and everyone seems to have the answer. And they're like a little silent. This is the only pen you should use. It's a black pen, and everyone should use it. And I got to wonder between the relationships between a large organization like yours and different companies, and public and private and commercial and government. So what's your perspective on these different organizations working together?
I guess honestly, if somebody's telling me that they have the answer to all the problems, then why would I go work there? They don't have anything for me to solve.
They've got it all.
And I think this is a really complex problem. And I think one of the things that's appealing about the discipline itself is that it is a complex and hard problem. I've certainly been on the other side of being sold the answer to all the problems, and more than once. And it's like, okay, you answer a piece of the problem, but you don't have the whole picture of the problem anyway. Besides, the discipline of IT is changed so dramatically just over the last few years. You look at and say, okay, well, used to, 20 years ago, a phone was a thing that you used to call people. Today, a phone is a thing that takes your pictures and holds your calendar and sends your email and does all these other things. And calling it a phone is sort of a misnomer. It's just a relic of what a phone used to be. But when you look at that and you say, okay, we today have a cybersecurity solution that'll not only cure this particular problem, but also the enterprise security problem, which is a bunch of mainframes in places that are locked up in buildings in order to accomplish a thing, and then also the networking problem, and also tomorrow's problem. The challenge is just enormous. And even knowing what to protect and what is most important to protect, those are the questions that really need to be asked. Not, okay, I can cure all your ills. It's like most products can do some things and most solutions can do some things, but nobody can do all of them, partly because even solving one is not solving the others. And nobody's job is really to do only, no business has as their only function to secure themselves. Businesses have missions to do. And even if you had all the money in the world to accomplish your cybersecurity, you wouldn't put your money there. You'd put your money in where you can make money or accomplish your business and drive the mission forward. So it's like, even if somehow you did have the magic wand that did these things, it still isn't going to get you there because people don't have the will to get there. They need to have enough freedom in their movement of data and things like that to actually accomplish the core mission of the organization.
When I talk to young people who are interested in cybersecurity, maybe working for your company and thinking about it, the topic that keeps coming up is these IoT devices and sensors and the number of them. And in fact, I have been told that by 2020, there'll be 4 devices for every human on Earth. Yeah, and so from your perspective, what does Leidos fit in this whole edge security versus IoT devices and encryption? I mean, this is really going to be a problem, I think.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And Leidos is like front and center on this thing. We're working with DARPA, we're working with IARPA, we're working with the Service Labs, and driving down how to really address the IoT question. It means so many things to so many people. Frankly, every time I think IoT, I think my smartwatch, but I know full well that it mostly means cities. And it's like what it means to any other person is the other question. So it's like OT, IoT, operational technology, and Internet of Things. They don't even mean, the O and the T don't even necessarily mean the same thing in this context, but they're all a continuum of the technology that is pervading our society. So when you look at cybersecurity, again, back to the why aren't we going to be able to solve cybersecurity, when you have unsecure devices, and one of the cores of this is that most of this stuff is riding on consumer devices, and all these consumer devices are being used for enterprise purposes. So when you have an enterprise that needs to secure data, you're kind of leveraging these consumer devices that were never meant to be secured in the first place. I think Leidos is really driving this mission and saying we need to get ahead of it. And we've got some really interesting independent and corporate funded research and development that's around the IoT and the OT and the entire spectrum of technology. And as it's working its way into every aspect of life, what it means to protect also changes. For an example, and just a quick one, is when you think in terms of the exposure, you have to think not only of your direct exposure, but when you do like bring your own device to work kind of thing, your device is not only your work device, but your home device. So all of the connections within that device go back to your work and back to your house. And so you are now an extension. So, and then your children, and then your friends, and all these other kind of pieces that all are now a web, and your attack surface has expanded dramatically. It's just a really complex subject.
And so I didn't know you were involved in that much research. I mean, I would be attracted to work just to get involved in some of the research and just trying to handle the amount of data that's going to be flooding over you.
Absolutely.
We're going to have to take a break, but I was sitting down with Dr. Ian Buck from Stanford yesterday, and he used the word exaflop. Wow, I mean, even the terminology is changing hourly. It's hard to keep up. We're going to have to take a pause here for a short break. My guest today is Arlette Hart, Senior Cybersecurity Technologist at Leidos. I'm your moderator, John Gilroy, on the discussion, Solving the Cyber Puzzle, From Trust to Talent, sponsored by Leidos on Federal News Radio 1500 AM and federalnewsradio.com.